Hi, this is Josh Marshall from TPM Media. It's Wednesday, May 14th, 2008. You know that Hillary Clinton had a smashing victory over Barack Obama last night in the West Virginia primary, but in many ways the bigger story was in a special election down in the state of Mississippi. There's a lot of evidence in polls and in fundraising that 2008 is shaping up to be a historically bad year for the Republican Party. In today's episode, we want to focus on 3 contested special elections this calendar year that give more evidence that that's probably what we're going to see in November 2008. Now let's start with Mississippi's 1st District, which voted last night, a special election after Roger Wicker moved from the House of Representatives up to the Senate to replace Trent Lott. And here we had Democrat Travis Childers facing Greg Davis, the Republican. Now this is an extremely Republican district. President Bush won this by 62% just back in 2004. Very red. The Republicans shouldn't have had any problem, but actually Childers, the Democrat, last night ended up winning this by 8 points. It shouldn't have even been close. The Republicans should have walked away with it, but the Democrat won, and again, by a pretty solid margin. This was very similar to what happened back on May 3rd in Louisiana's 6th District. Again, very Republican district. President Bush won this by 59% in 2004, but you had Democrat Don Caziu beat Woody Jenkins, the Republican, by 3 percentage points. Again, race like this should be the Republicans walking away, but the Democrats took it. Now, for the third of these races, we have to go back to March to Denny Hastert's old district, Illinois' 14th district. This isn't quite as Republican a district as these ones in the Deep South. President Bush won it by 55%, but that should be a fairly comfortable Republican margin. In this case, again, the Democrat Bill Foster beat the Republican Jim Oberweis by about 5 percentage points. Now, are Democrats going to beat every Republican member of the House of Representatives they face in this November? Of course not. So let's look at a few of the other factors that put these defeats for the Republicans in some context. The first is the power of incumbency. Always critical. In each of these cases, this was an open seat, so the Republicans didn't have an incumbent, which would give them a big advantage, probably would have saved 2, maybe even all of these seats for them. Now, you also have to keep in mind that a lot of Republicans are retiring this year or moving on, trying to move on to other political offices. At this point, Republicans have to defend 25 open seats, mainly from retirements, 25 this November. So there'll be a lot of cases where they face very similar situations to that they faced in these 3 races, probably not even with that strong a Republican advantage. Next up, money. The House Democratic Campaign Committee outspent the Republican Campaign Committee by a lot in both Louisiana and Mississippi, but again, that's happening across the board this year. Democrats are outraising Republicans pretty much at every level, so the Democrats are likely to have a similar advantage in November. Now finally, candidate quality. Each of the Democrats in these 3 races were pretty solid candidates, and the Republicans were either so-so or not so solid at all. But again, something like this is part of the broader factors in play this year. If you're the Democrats, it's a lot easier to recruit good candidates because you're recruiting into the majority. On the other hand, for the Republicans, this is why you're having a lot of retirements, why it's hard to recruit good candidates, because no one wants to spend a lot of money, spend a lot of time getting elected to the House just to be in the minority and not really having an opportunity to do much of anything. Put that all together and you have the Republicans in the House of Representatives facing perhaps at least as challenging a year as they faced 2 years ago in 2006, when of course they faced an historic defeat. Coming up soon, we'll be looking at the Senate, where things don't look much better for the Republican Party. I'm Josh Marshall from TPM Media, and we'll talk to you tomorrow.